I watched a video you did. I think you originally did it on Twitch, but it was posted on YouTube as well, where you talked about your whole story of coming out to your family and like how difficult it was and all the drama behind the scenes. Since Crystal hasn't heard that, and maybe some people listening to this in our audience haven't heard that, walk everybody through it from the beginning about, your sexuality, how you came out, and everything that went on behind the scenes.
Yeah. So it's still, honestly, to think that I posted that was a little bit bizarre to me, because I did the Twitch segment and I didn't really expect to make it into a video, but I thought, you know what, it's kind of embarrassing to talk about yourself that long, but I feel like it can be helpful, because before I came out, I watched probably like 100 videos and other people coming out. And nobody really talks about that anymore, because I think that a lot of the need has dissipated. Like this newer generation, they are a lot more confident and their parents are younger. So maybe it's not as necessary, but there's still a lot of people that need it. So I decided to post it, even if it's kind of hard to talk about it, just because I was also worried that my family would see it. But yeah, so basically, I always say that like coming out happens in three different parts. The first part is coming out to yourself, which is by far the most difficult. The second part is coming out to like your family and your close friend circle. And then the third part is just the ongoing coming out process, which is, you start a new job, you meet new people. It's always you're going to come out to them. And it's not like you're going to sit down with them and say, I have to tell you something. It's more informal than, you casually mention your partner and, I'll bring up my husband or something like that. So yeah, the process of coming out was really difficult, because I was kind of a late bloomer. I didn't come out until I was 22. And it was because I was raised very, very fundamentalist Christian. My family took me to church every single Sunday and Wednesday. And so from a very young age, I was taught that being gay was a sin. And it was, as I started to kind of grow up and go through puberty, I would think back to all of these times when I was younger where I kind of outed myself in a way, and I hoped that my family didn't remember. So like the furthest memory that I could recall was when I was 5, and I was arguing with my mom because she made like a really nonchalant comment about, well, when you're a grown up and you have a girlfriend someday, you can do this. I don't remember what the context was, but I was arguing with her because I said, no, I'm never going to have a girlfriend. I want to have a boyfriend. And as a kid, it's not because you realize you're gay, obviously. It's just like, to me, that's what felt natural. And maybe it was a little bit, oh, girls have cooties, I was in that stage. But, thinking back, it was because it always felt just like second nature to me. And so, I was, as I was like 10 or 11, and you start to go through puberty and you realize, oh my God, something's different there. I cringed because I thought, oh my God, I hope that my mom didn't remember that conversation. And, you really start to reflect once you realize it. And, when I was like 17, 18, I realized that I couldn't pass as easily as some gay people. I was very flamboyant. I had like the limp wrist, like I was very stereotypical. So because I couldn't trick people as easily, I had to vocalize my homophobia. So I was one of those stereotypes, right? Like, the pastors who's like very, very super flamboyant but homophobic. I was basically that stereotype because that was the only way that I can convince people that I wasn't gay, and so there was a day that really stood out to me where I was like 17 and we were watching home videos, and there was a video of me wearing this purple like sweatsuit getting down to the Spice Girls, and I thought, holy shit, I don't know how to like erase their memory, how could you see that and think that I'm not gay? And so, you kind of do this self-reflection and you realize that, maybe my family suspected, and that's where the homophobic comments came in. Like, my dad would tell me, you're acting like a sissy, if I'm like, if he sees me prancing around. And part of it was, I don't want a gay son. The other part of it was, I don't want you to put yourself in danger, because there were, situations where my dad stood up for me. He was always very homophobic. He would read a newspaper article and mention gay people and just go off about it. But at other times, I was walking home and our neighbor had came out and said, hey, there goes the little F slur. And so I was like 8 or 9. And so I went in and told my dad, and he went right over there and said, I will beat your ass if you ever tell my son that, or call my son that again. So part of it was like protective. Part of it was, I don't want that to be, the case. So finally, after a long teenage period of denying it, seeking out like what is it called, like those gay conversion clinics.
Wow.
My gosh.
Trying to pray away the gay. It was really tough. So finally, when I realized, okay, I'm gay, it was because of the dumbest thing ever. So I was watching Carlos Mencia's show, Mind of Mencia, and there was this, I don't know what he was talking about, but he did like a little jingle. It was like, if you think you might be gay, then you're gay. And I was laughing at it. And I'm like, that's so stupid because it clearly doesn't work that way. There's lots of straight men who want to be with other men. That's just the way it is. Like, I just kind of projected. And it's like, no, of course all these guys want to be with hot guys. That's just the way it is. But, we suck it up and we be with women. And then because of that, it like really clicked. I'm like, wait, is it that simple? And I'm like, no, there's no way it's that simple. And then it's like, okay, well, all right, I'm very clearly gay. I've tried to be with girls and it ended in absolute catastrophe. Most of the time I would friend zone myself because, I had no romantic interest in them whatsoever. I was always a 6 on the Kinsey scale, which means like exclusively homosexual, zero, attraction whatsoever to women. So from the time I like acknowledged that I was actually gay, to the time I came out was probably like a 2-month period because it's so weird. It's like this, it's hard to really explain, but you feel like everything about your life finally makes sense. The confusion clears up and you just feel like, oh my God, like I've been living a lie this whole time. And it feels like, I've been lying to myself. And I was always really hard. Like, it's not like I was surprised, right? Because I fought it the whole time. But that was part of the problem. Like, I prayed, I would go on through these Christian forums about other men with same-sex attractions, and I'd try to take their advice. Things you can do, watch lesbian porn, all these strange things that you would try to do. And it failed every single time. And so, like, when I was young, I realized that there was something definitely weird. Like by the time I was 8, I started to have crushes on boys, not naturally, but just my friends would be like, "Oh, which girl do you like?" And I'd be like, "I don't know." And then I look at, one of the boys in my class and I'm like, I kind of have a crush on him. I hope that doesn't mean that I'm gay. So like when I started to realize it, when I started to go through puberty, then it was like, okay, this might be something, maybe it's not. But, at a very young age, I think I was like 11, I made a suicide pact with myself and thought, okay, I know the way my family feels. So if there's ever this point where I decide that I'm gay and I want to come out, the best thing to do would be to kill yourself.
Oh my God. Wow.
Because if I were to do that, I thought, would it hurt my family? Yeah. But it would honestly hurt them less than me coming out. That was my thought. And I never really intended to go through, but it was kind of like one of those gun to your head things where it's like, okay, I know what I want to do. I know how I want to do it. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to just to protect my family.
Sorry to interject, but from what I remember from the story, and correct me if I'm wrong, like you said, you almost sort of nonchalantly almost dropped it. And then there was one parent who was actually way more okay with it than you expected, right?
Yeah. So when I decided to finally come out, the first parent that I told was my mom. My mom had vocalized that she didn't want like a gay son before, but she was much more open-minded than my dad. So, I came out to my mom kind of like in an argument because I was just trying to get her to accept gay people just in general. I forced her to watch a documentary called For the Bible Tells Me So, which is about like accepting gay people from a religious standpoint, which is very cringeworthy. But I mean, I thought that it would work for her. And, she said, well, I don't have to worry about this because I don't have a gay kid. And, my response was, yes, you do. And it was like word vomit. I didn't actually anticipate that I would tell her that night, but it was just like the perfect moment. And so we had a really long conversation and she was perfectly fine with it, which was mind blowing to me because I thought, oh my God, all my life, I've been beating myself up about this, contemplating whether or not I even want to live openly. But, when you reach that conclusion and you think, okay, I'm done fighting it, it's either I be gay and live my life or I be miserable forever. Then, it feels really liberating. So, I decided, okay, I need to come out. Even though I might not necessarily be in a good predicament, I was living with my parents. I was worried that my dad might kick me out. I had to find some way to get through it, because being in the closet was just no longer an option for me mentally. It was just like eating away at me, you know, and I fought it for so long to kind of just give in. It was like, okay, this is not a big deal anymore. But the thing about coming out is it's simultaneously one of the most horrifying things that you could ever do, but also it's really liberating, and it feels good because it feels like for the first time in your whole life you're being honest with people. But the thing about coming out is it's irreversible. You can't put the cat back in the bag. You know, you don't have one of those like Men in Black flashers
just
that
kidding.
erases their memory. Yeah. If you drop an LOL JK, they're not going to believe you. So it's like if I'm going to do it, there's no going back at this point. So your life changes for better or worse, but it changes and you're never the same again. So, you know, I started to have come out from, you know, person to person. I had my easy go-tos. You know, I had one brother and one sister who'd be very accepting. I had another brother and another sister that would not be accepting. So you go through the easiest difficulty first. You tell the people who would accept you. And then, you know, you can be yourself around enough people for a while. But then, you know, you kind of just have to be out. So I remember counting on my hand, okay, 8 people now know who I am. And then I was like, okay, now we have to tell somebody who's more difficult. And so I tried to tell my dad, and I couldn't. Like, we were just watching TV. And I don't remember what it was. Like, they mentioned gay or something, and my dad didn't say anything. And so I thought, wait, okay, so he's not like freaking out like he usually does. Maybe is this like a window? So I was about to tell him, and then, you know, your heart starts racing. And then it's like, okay, I literally can't do it. Otherwise, I'm going to faint. So I decided to tell my mom that she has to tell my dad because it's like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. You know, and he has to know. But I can't do it. So, you know, I left the entire day. I was gone, and I didn't hear back from my mom. And I'm like, oh my God, please, I hope that she tells him. And so she was like nauseous like all day because who knows?
Wow.
And, you know, she told me before he's going to accept it because if he doesn't, I can't stay with him.
Wow.
And even though that comes from such a place of love, it's a horrifying statement because then you think, oh my God, I could break up my family because of this. Was this the right decision? You know? And I don't want that to happen. I'd rather just stay in the closet.
No.
But, you know, I come home and my dad is just on the couch watching TV, and I just walk right past him, don't make any eye contact, and I look at my mom and I'm like, did you tell him? And she's like, yes. I'm like, how did he take it? And she's like, he's fine with it.
Wow.
And it's just, it's
Wow.
mind-blowing.
Wow.
Because all my life I thought, oh my God, you know, if I ever tell him, like, he might actually physically assault me. Like, I was expecting to see all of my shit packed on the front porch. And so to just have him have this complete different reaction, it really, like, it changed my relationship with my dad because I always kind of hated him, even before I accepted myself. But all these homophobic comments, like, it's stuck in my mind. It built up, and it's, you know, I always just thought, well, you'd hate me if you know who I was, even before I accepted myself. You know, it's just, you have that subconscious thought in your mind. But to have him accept me was truly just mind-blowing. And, you know, after that, it's like, okay, if he would accept me, anyone can accept me. I have my parents. That's all you need right now. I'm safe. You know, that's it. So I can tell anyone. So I got a little bit too cocky. And I ended up I started to live my life because I came out. So I started to volunteer for like the Human Rights Campaign. Now cringe when I look back on it because I don't really support the organization anymore, but, you know, do canvassing for them and whatnot. And so, you know, another family member had asked, why are you doing gay rights activism? And I thought, well, because I explained because I believe in it. And, you know, it kind of led to an argument. And then that argument led to me, you know, word vomiting and saying, well, I'm doing this because I'm gay and I'm fighting for my own future, which was not a good way to come out to somebody who is not only very homophobic, but when you come out in an argumentative way, you know, then it's tough. So you have to try to backtrack, you know. And so when I told this person, it was as if I think in the video I described it as like it felt like I set off a nuclear bomb because like the room just felt dead silent.
Wow.
And then there's just no reaction for 10 seconds. And then all of a sudden, there's just tears streaming down their face, hysterical, where it's like, oh my God, what did I do? This was not the right time. So then you try to walk back, you know, everything and say, all right, but, you know, or not walk it back, but you try to explain your position because when you come out to someone more delicately, you can kind of control the environment and build up to it, so that way they kind of can empathize with you. But I didn't do that in this situation. I got way too confident. So I tried to explain, like, all right, this isn't like me just being rebellious. I'm 22 now. I've realized that for a while I just stopped fighting it. I wanted to initially kill myself because I knew how badly it would be for the family if I came out. And so, it was a very hard conversation. And then, that person told my nieces and nephews, actually, it probably would have been better if he killed himself low-key because this is too difficult.
Jesus.
And so they had told me about that. And then mentally that set me back so far. And then over the course of that next week, I had learned that that person had outed me to literally every single person that I've ever known. I'm talking like childhood friends' parents, old church members.
Wow.
My brothers.
Wow.
Everyone. And so, for me, the reason why I brought up like counting on my hand, like, 8 people know now, is because, you keep like these mental tabs because you're really trying. It's like a controlled demolition, right? Like you don't want to just go in there and nuke the building. You want to bring it down so there's no, debris getting anyone hurt, something like that. And so once you get outed, then that's it. Everyone knows. And so the backlash was really like swift and severe. So, other people in the family began to show up at my parents' house and scream at them when I was gone.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Where
did you grow up, Mike?
So I grew up in Oregon, actually. So in Portland. So it's a very liberal city, liberal area. But my family was kind of politically all over the place. Like they supported Bill Clinton, then hated him, supported Bush, then hated him. But very evangelical, very Christian.
Gotcha.
Particularly at the age of like 10. That's when they really got back into it.
Gotcha.
But that was, it was, that whole situation was, it really escalated quickly to where, family members would wait outside of my parents' home and just sit there in a car.
That's insane.
And, you don't know at this point, you kind of catastrophize a lot before you come out. Like I remember telling like my lesbian friend, but I thought, would she accept me? Because maybe she's cool with it, but she's like, this isn't right for you, So you think, you try to expect the worst and hope for the best. So, I wasn't sure, so I start thinking this family member who's sitting in the car watching, do they have a gun? I know they have one at home. Did they bring it with them? Are they willing to kill me? And and then you feel this guilt too, because, I brought so much stress on my parents. They stood up for me, and that was really difficult for them. But, the reason why I think it was all really worthwhile at that time, and I felt like I still had made the right decision, was because as, these people were berating my parents, my father defended me. And, that was something that I never thought that I would see, given everything that he said. So it's like, he explained, this is my son and I love him no matter what.
Wow.
So if you don't like that, that's too bad. And so, at that time I ended up having like a panic attack, a mental breakdown. I thought that I had a heart attack when I was driving, but it turned out it was a panic attack. And I kind of developed a panic attack disorder that I still have till this day,
Wow.
Since that time. But that was like the point where I came out. And then at that point, every single person knows. I haven't talked to family members, but, they've reached out and called me a degenerate. So I don't, good relationships were destroyed. But things have kind of settled down, for better or worse.
Yeah.
There were some family members who did not accept it, and then they accepted it and were very, very loving. They came to my wedding and told my husband that you're part of the family now. And then 3 months later, start dating someone who's vehemently homophobic, and then have to send me the message, you need to give up the sin. So it's not like you come out and then you're good. You convince someone, you won them over. You can go backwards.
Wow.
You can go backwards really easily.